So, welcome everybody. This is a collaborative effort of what we're calling the User's Guide to the Fourth and Fifth Dimension, which is a blueprint for living our best life. And before I botch this up any further, I'm going to just introduce myself as my name is Rebecca Roseberry, and I am the journalist to the information that we're going to hear from Chris. So Chris, you want to tell us about yourself? Give people a little bit of a background.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for being the journalist for this journey. I really do appreciate it. So I am the translator for this journal. The Masters, which is a collective consciousness in the divine realm, which makes me a channeler. They are sending us messages all day long, every day, to help us get through this shift from 3-dimensional energy into 4- and 5-dimensional energy. The planets are already well into getting there. If they haven't already some have locked in. Earth hasn't yet because we live here. And we're not quite ready for that lock-in yet, but it won't be long. And so I will be translating, giving information of how to more easily guide ourselves through this journey. I've been channeling my whole entire life. I see auras, I see colors, I read energy. I take quantum energy courses as well as psychology and light anatomy of the brain, so that I can incorporate the quantum fields into what we are going through during this evolution from one age, the age they call Pisces, into the age that is called Aquarius. And they are 180 degree different in their energy sources. And so we need to start really understanding why we are moving 180 degrees into a new way of living and a new way of understanding. Nothing that we haven't done before. We are remembering, but it's new for us.
Yeah. So again, I want to give people, like, why would they want to listen to this? Who is this information for? I think we had concluded that we want to really support people who are struggling and feeling in resistance.
Yes.
And how would one know that they are struggling or in resistance?
So when we are at our extreme happiest, everything seems to be sailing along. We are well on the pathway. We are close to the frequency, the vibration. Everything in the universe has a frequency. Everything in the universe vibrates. We can't always see the vibration, but everything has a vibration. And as we evolve into this new energy, we are raising our vibration. Yeah. This has nothing to do with anything but nature. We are following nature. Humans are beginning to understand that we are part of the nature's blueprint, and that we have a place in that nature's blueprint, and we are becoming more aware of our oneness with nature.
Yeah.
So when we're struggling, things tend to not be smooth. Not necessarily, they're not bad, they're just not smooth. And when we're not in a smooth place, we know there's something in our life that isn't at our authentic frequency. And that's what I do for a living. I help people find through a series of meditations, along with some talk therapy, different modalities. And we find where your trauma is. Everybody has a PTS of some sort, different degrees, different levels. And just because we didn't serve in the military, or we are not one of our first responders, we still have things that traumatized us, whether it's in this lifetime or whether it's in a previous lifetime that we never dealt with. So when we are in fight or flight mode, things don't become issues for us. But when we're in a freeze mode and something happens, those things that are frozen are kind of wrapped up by our subconscious and put away, locked up. And then when things happen that have same frequency, we call those triggers, and we get triggered by things. So we're able to go into the mind without hypnosis, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with hypnosis. I have a friend who I request her to help me with hypnosis all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. This just doesn't happen to be hypnosis, but there's a lot of very close similarities. So we take that information, and you get to do your own healing. You get to put your practice, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and we do trial and error until we find the exact healing properties and healing modalities that work for your PTS. And it may be the same for every PTS that you have, which is post-traumatic stress, for every PTS that you have, or it may actually be that works for that, and later on down the road some other stress comes up and you need a whole new formula. The beautiful part is you are part of the healing, and so because you are part of the healing process, and the biggest part of the healing process, it's permanent. Once you release that stress, once you release that thing that that is keeping you from becoming your best self with your best life, it no longer has weight for you. And if it doesn't have weight, it doesn't trigger us.
Well said. I like that. So, where do you want to go from here? Because I know we have a big plan, and yet we don't, because we don't know what's going to come out of your mouth
No.
as a channel. So we have just the knowing that we need to do this. So how would you like to steer the conversation now? Or
So, and if, can we edit if I say something?
absolutely.
Okay. All right. I thought we could, but just to make sure. So, since this is also part of your journey,
Yeah.
As we do your work, which will, that's up to you as to whether it's recorded or not recorded, and then you can do what you want to with it. But as we do your work, I think what's going to happen, and what they were telling me while I was getting ready to come in here, is that your questions will be the table of content.
Okay. Okay.
So and it's not just yours. I mean, you're not the only
Yeah.
one. I'm not, but
Yeah.
you are going to have some really good questions because of who you are, what you do, and where you are in your journey.
Yeah. Okay. I'm writing this down.
So you're going to have questions. Your stubbornness is going to bring out questions for people that are really, even though you're not three-dimensional people will relate to that. They will relate to that. Well, if I can't be in control of it, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask questions that are in that category,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to, they're going to be, they're going to go, whoa, well, wait a minute, I want to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So,
that may be the only thing they listen to. You know, their wife may, or their husband may be in the room listening, and they walk by and just hear that one question you're asking, and they come in, they listen to that part. But what happens is you and your question gave an opportunity to someone in that moment,
right.
to realize that there is something other than 3D.
Right. 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 Oh, I'm happy to do that. And I like to pride myself on being somewhat of a bridge and somewhat of, I can dance in both worlds and help people cross over in a sense. I try to be as relatable as possible. So, I know, the stereotypes, it's like, oh, she's that
Yeah.
kind of person. And I'm like, no, I try to like blend in and yet have a very mystical private life, but not very private anymore.
Right. Well, guess what? Not private as of today. That is the
As
truth.
of today. So, all right. So for the audience, let's just break down, define 3D versus 4 versus 5, and why the progression and that sort of thing, so people can identify with these different stages, I guess.
Okay, perfect. So for several thousand years, the Earth, our galaxy, and our universe have been in a three-dimensional energy pattern. And this three-dimensional pattern is a very low frequency. And everything in this everything that I do is based on frequency. There are other parts of the formula too, but frequency is always in the formula. So when you are in a three-dimensional energy, or some people have heard it called the age of Pisces, some people have called it a dense state. It has many, many different names, but they all mean the same thing. They all mean three-dimensional energy. And a three-dimensional energy is a lower vibration, as I said, and tends to have a more negative balance. So we can use examples of, I need to control. I get angry when someone cuts me off going down the street, or if I expected someone to do something and they haven't gotten around to doing it yet. So anytime we have anger, we have rage, we have a need to be in control. Those are all fear-based energies. And if it is a fear-based energy, it is third dimensional. We have this beautiful thing that the universe, and you may call the universe, I'll leave that a blank space. I say universe because I work with people who are from all different ethnic, religious, spiritual backgrounds, and universe encompasses all of that. So it's a term that I use. Some people prefer the word God. Some people prefer a Buddhist energy. You may put any word that feels good to you, a divine order, whatever feels good to you, you fill in that blank. I will use universe because that's what I use in my practice to make everyone feel comfortable. So, but the universe, the divine, the creator divine, they have given us in their awesome wisdom this fourth dimensional space. And fourth dimensional, when we didn't have any other energy to choose from, all we had was 3D energy. The fourth dimension was that place where we placed God, our angels, our saints, our guides, our spirit guides, animal guides, anything that was not of earth and in a spiritual space. We placed them in our mind, in that fourth dimensional type energy. That's not actually where they live or where they hail from, but it was a perfect place when all we had was 3D. Now that the fifth dimension, the planets have started realigning, they started back, we'll say 2012-ish, and they are aligning, and an age has nothing to do with astrology. It's all astronomy. So the age of Pisces was literally the alignment and position of planets. Aquarius is no different than that. It is the alignment and position of planets. And we know that the planets are moving. We know that there are times when the planets line up, 7, 5, 9. They line up in a row on one side or the other of the sun. We know they are moving in ways that are not usual. I won't say normal, but they things that they do not usually do. So we have scientific proof that planets are shifting. We also know from the gorgeous pictures that NASA takes that the Earth herself shifted on her axis again. It's not the first time she's done it, but she's shifted again. So our old North and South Pole are a lot more here and here than here and here. And we will create a new North and South Pole. So because of all those things, and knowing that we are human and human beings cannot do things immediately, we need to ease into things. Part of that is mind, but a lot of that is our physical makeup. So as we move into this 5th dimension, they gave us 4th dimension and they call it pivot. And pivot means exactly what you think it means. I can be in this 3rd dimension for a while if it feels better and I need to be there, or I'm working with someone who isn't aware that the world is moving like this, and we can still communicate and we can still achieve what they need to achieve. And then I can pivot back over here and I can be in 5D, or I can choose to stay in pivot and be a little bit of each for a little while. The reason that Becky and I are doing this is because pivot is beginning to close. Our time for being able to be in both worlds it's not going to happen tomorrow, but it is beginning to close. And because we need to ease into things, we need to pay more attention to going into this 5th dimensional world. And the only way to get there is to release our 3-dimensional belief systems, our 3-dimensional focuses, anything that keeps us in that space. We need to find that way for us to leave that there and move forward and leave it behind. And one of the great things is they've given us many, many examples. So as we go along, we can talk about these examples, and there's many of them. And as we get to a place where another one of these examples is helpful, we will look at that example in detail, and Becky and I will discuss it, and how we can manage to do the things that we need to do, because we do need to change 180 degrees of most of our energy as humans.
So, I got another question.
Good. I love questions.
So you were saying, you were naming like 4D, we perceived in our mind 4D was where angels are and so forth, but you said that wasn't actually so.
Correct.
So where do those beings actually belong, I suppose, from a category standpoint?
Okay. So I have a better chart than my memory that I can get out. But as an example, 9th dimension, 11th dimension, that we are getting closer. People may have noticed that they hear, sounds like voices in the living room. They go in the living room, there's no voices, or they can feel their loved one who's crossed over, and they really don't do that a lot, but all of a sudden they can smell the aroma of cologne or cookies, something cooking, and oh, my grandmother used to bake those. Oh wow, but no one's cooking around you. And we are beginning to have more and more and more of those type of experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because as we raise our frequency, we get closer to their dimension or their domain.
Okay.
And so the closer we get, the closer we are to them. So you can start around the 8th dimension, and it starts, so there's energies, there's the Akashic records, which we can talk about at some point, is on one of those levels. Archangels have their level. So different energies live on different levels, and basically any entity is an energy. So you can call, when I'm watching Ancient Aliens, sometimes Giorgio gets a little beyond where I can go sometimes, especially if it's been a long day. And so I will insert my own word. Like if he says something and I don't disregard anything he says, but sometimes I just need for that to be an angel instead of an extraterrestrial for a moment. But
yeah,
they're both extraterrestrials because that word means not of Earth. So I can slide that word. Oh, my guardian angel's here with me, because that's what I need that moment.
mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And that's what I want people to be able to do as we go along with this. If I use a word and it's just not old slipper comfortable, put their own word, their own understanding, because that keeps their vibration up. And if their vibration stays up, then the rest of it will come, because they're comfortable and they're not paying more attention to one word that I'm using that they're not sure they like. My clients, if I say, so I have one client, she doesn't like the word trigger. She had an episode in her past, and that word brings back very uncomfortable memories for her, subconscious memories for her. So when I'm working with her, we do not use that word. I substitute another word for that means the same thing, that means trigger. So I want the audience to be comfortable enough to do that as well.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's good to know. So so fifth dimension, can we talk about like what would that look like, feel like, what would be different? Like because at least for me, I feel like everyone's in a state of fear or unconscious fear for the most part. And like so are you saying we're going to be at a point where we have to just let that go and just drop that frequency?
Drop that frequency. And when we evolve and fourth dimension helps us get there. So we're going to spend a lot of time in this fourth dimension at the beginning of the series, so that, because fourth dimension is much easier to obtain than fifth. But once you've obtained fourth, fifth dimension is not difficult to obtain at all.
Okay.
But it is, the easier way is not the 3rd to 5 leap.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when people attempt to make that 3 to 5 leap, it's a big leap, and it's difficult to do that. I'm not going to say there's not anybody on the planet that cannot do it, but they're probably very few and far between. So if we can find our way into the 4th dimension, and then start from there and go into the 5th dimension, and then eventually into the 6th dimension, then, because that's what we're going to do during this evolution for the next few thousand years, we are going to be evolving higher and higher and higher. Mm-hmm. Right now, we are at the very beginning. We are putting pavers down, especially for those who come behind us. The 5th dimension, we will have less need for things like jails and prisons. We will have less need for locks on doors or anything you can think of that causes you anxiety when you walk outside your door. We will have less need for those things. So your anxiety level will drop dramatically.
Mm.
And it's because our consciousness will be rising. And as it rises, we we lose the need to control. We lose the need to be number one. We lose the need to be better. And when we take all of those needs away, those are all three-dimensional needs. So the need to obtain those things in a less positive way, such as holding somebody up at gunpoint or um, pushing in front of the line or any of those things that are not what we consider kind, we won't think that way. And I can honestly say that I know that happens because there are things that I truly cannot remember. There are events that happen to me that I truly cannot remember anymore because my frequency is not focused on that. Now, if you bring it up to me and start talking about it enough, it happens. So I can go into the recesses of my mind and remember bits and pieces, but it no longer holds weight.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't hold weight, then you're not in that three dimension. You have the ability to rise or float above it.
Yeah. So another way of saying you're not attached to it,
Yes.
you don't identify with it. It's truly in the past. It's truly behind you, and it's maybe that's not the word, but yeah, truly in the past, and you've evolved beyond it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, there is a misconception, and I will go out on a limb here and say I will validate this. I have died twice, literally flatline.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've been where souls go back to for at least a little bit. So I do know that this is a learning planet.
Mm-hmm.
We come here, we agree to come here, and at some point we'll talk about the difference between an agreement and a contract. But we agree to come here because it's a learning planet, because of the struggles that people have here. Why? I'm not real sure. I am told by several that it is because the soul misses that spice. You
Yeah.
know, when you put music on and you haven't heard music in a while and it just kind of goes to your soul. Well, it was explained to me like that one time that it's that spice that is missing when everything is really peaceful and in harmony. So we choose to come back here, and we agree to live the life that we're living with all of its good, bad, and indifferent. So this will never be utopia, kumbaya. Those are things we strive for, to have the frequency to be able to leave here and go somewhere else to have. There are places where that exists.
Okay.
But this is a learning planet. It will always be a learning planet, or at least for the next 10,000 years, it will be a learning planet. So we will always have the the lower frequency and the higher frequency, but for the past few thousand years, the low frequency has been dominant, and the lighter frequency has been really just kind of hovering down here at the bottom. And now that shift is taking place, and for a little while, the light frequency is going to be dominant and the low frequency is just going to be hovering. And eventually, the two doesn't have to be equal to be balanced, but they will become a balancing act. And it'll look like It'll look like a seesaw, or that toy where the clown, kind of balances back and forth. That's the way this world will be for several thousand years. And that'll be in a fifth and a sixth dimensional state. And then I don't know what'll happen because I have no clue. Haven't visited that far yet. So what I agreed to was to come here and work with just getting us to that fifth and sixth place. So it's very positive. It's a very wonderful feeling to know, one, that we agreed to come back here and help Mother Earth in her shift and her change, and to be a part of the change of humanity. It's also wonderful to know that change is taking place. And for thousands of years, we lived in a three-dimensional world. So we are getting to see something that a lot of people have never witnessed before. And that is the shift from one energy into another energy. And as the planets lock themselves in to their Aquarian spaces, we are following. And once they stay there for the next couple thousand years, we will be working on humanity and humans getting to that place. Things will happen, and they're all already happening very, very quickly. Will become telepathic, but we have to get rid of some words. We have to get rid of some rumination. We have to get rid of some semantics before we can become telepathic. But there are hints, and I have some friends that have started instinctively trying to become telepathic with their pets. And we talked about it. I was at a meeting, and it was kind of just a side. It wasn't what the meeting was about, but it was kind of a side discussion. And they were so excited about whether they could, sometimes it happens. And then sometimes they're like, yeah, they couldn't hear me. But they understand that the lighter they are, there is the ability we were telepathic at one time when we were in the lighter energy, and we will be telepathic again.
So when you say that, like, this other energy that you're referring to, like, when we spoke earlier about the golden age of Atlantis is what we're moving towards again, I guess.
Yes.
It's an again.
And again.
So
none of it's new. All of this is remembering where we hailed from.
All right. So we just keep circulating out of body into another. We keep doing this dance. But why did we screw up Atlantis the first time?
I don't know exactly who, but mankind wanted to control. So we probably had more than 24, but 24 is all I know about. We had it, and they're not validating one way or the other. We had a 24 chakra system. And when mankind got a little bossy, and other planets got a little bit of wanting to own or control other planets, they took everybody down to a 12. And when that didn't work, in the golden age of Atlantis and Atlantis sunk, we went to a 7, because 7 is what humans had to have to sustain life on this planet in a 3-dimensional energy. So now we have started activating and remembering our 12 chakras. Once we get to a place in 5th and 6th, I don't know for an absolute fact, but I can make a very good educated guess from quantum physics that we will actually go and start working in our 24 chakra system. And then if there's anything beyond that, I'm just not aware of it. But the possibilities are endless because we are energy. And that's the thing I think is hard, is we are energy.
Yeah. So so the question about when, we're talking about they, let's clarify they, like who got us from a 24 to a 12 to a 7? Who's the who?
The creator consciousness.
Creator consciousness.
Yes.
Okay. So, because when I hear that, I'm thinking, okay, if everything's all one, or assuming everything's all one, and we have 24, we self-destructed, we cut ourselves off down to a 12. We did it to ourselves. That's how I would interpret that.
And it can be interpreted either way, because
Yeah.
basically that is what happened. We did it, but they dropped it down to a 3-dimensional energy.
Okay.
So it's kind of a give and take. Everything with the universe is give and take.
Yeah.
So when we started reaching for that 3-dimensional energy, they gave us the 3-dimensional energy.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like we didn't earn it or didn't appreciate it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And
if you go back and you look at the Hindu religion, it's really easy to follow when you read their stories of the pyramids being built or other things that happen. And whether you're Hindu or not, their stories are amazing, and it does help to make a connection about what we're talking about and what's already been here, so we can see. And they're not the only ones that have stories. There's many stories all over the place. They just happen to pop into my mind because I was just talking about one of their stories with someone earlier. But so anyone that wants to, we'll talk about some of those so people can start going and researching that and looking for the links that we already know. The universe itself, especially the divine realm, they are talking to us all day long, every day. We have created a sound barrier, and we cannot hear what they have to say. So people, the way you begin is, let's say a loved one passes away, and you start finding pennies. They call them pennies from heaven for a reason. Or you see feathers everywhere you go. You'll find a feather inside your car. You start seeing, I have a client, she's the minute her father passed away, she started seeing little pieces of a particular color of paper every single place she goes. She finds it on the ground. She'll find it in a parking lot when she gets out of her car. Everywhere she goes, they're like little torn up pieces of paper, and they're always the exact same color, but it's not the color, it's the shade of the color. It is a very unique shade, and she's finding them everywhere. So she knows that he is trying to communicate with her. Now, what his communication is, she hasn't gotten to yet. But the fact that she's aware when she sees that, oh yeah, I need to stop and think. I need to slow down. I'm not in 3D energy anymore. I'm trying to be in my 4D energy. I need to take a breath, refocus my attention, and see what I'm not paying attention to, or see what I'm unable to hear. And I know I said see and hear, but that was on purpose. Yeah. To see what I'm unable to hear. Because that's how they're trying to communicate. They are putting things, some people it's dreams, a particular dream over and over again. Some people, it's like I said earlier, it's the smell of pumpkin pie or cookies, a cigar. It can be absolutely anything, but it's always going to be that thing that I can relate to. And you can be standing right next to me and you'll walk over that piece of paper every time and it's that big, but I see it.
Yeah.
If that's my message. So as we begin to kind of take some of that noise protection bubble that we put around ourselves and we start hearing and focusing, it's very easy to know when they're talking to us. They talk very loudly, very clearly, very distinctly. It is all about us relearning how to listen and hear.
So why did we protect that? Why do we block that off?
Because third dimension, the frequencies aren't there.
Okay.
We have to be in a higher frequency to be able to hear.
Yeah, all right. Gotcha. Yeah. Thinking of the next question. So probably my guess is both are true. You know, if and I'll make this personal. If I want to hear something literal, I know you hear things literal, like the word. That's not always the case,
No.
but so what you're saying is that the communication is not always going to be in words, most likely not. It's going to be in signs and symbols and so forth, and we need to pay attention to it.
Yes.
And the but again, we don't have a I we don't have like a dictionary for this. And I guess the answer is it's personal. It's a personal, you're creating this connection in the moment or you're developing it over time, right? If you're paying attention.
So when if I'm doing a reading for somebody, simply a reading, it's not a healing session for them. I often revert back to my symbols. Sometimes it's simply, now if it's a reading from the masters, and the masters, that's what I called it. Everybody that is a channeler has a name for that same collective consciousness that's in that same highest realm.
Yeah.
We all have names, and the names aren't the same, but the consciousness is the same. The names come from, especially those of us that have been channeling our whole life, it's the name I chose when I was a child. It has nothing to do with, now, I called them more one-on-one names when I was a child, but they were always the masters of who we were. And I understood that.
Yeah.
And when they use the word masters, that's not to say, oh, I have no free will. No, we have all kinds of free will. That's how we got where we are now. It's our free will that put us back in the third dimension.
Right. It can get us into trouble.
Yes.
Lots of trouble.
That's the problem. Yes. So when we're in that divine realm, or closer to the divine realm, I guess I should say, we are able to hear them because we are connected. We hear all the time, connect yourself to source. And the divine realm is no source. So it doesn't matter if you call it divine, if you call it source, if you call it God, if you call it the Almighty, it does not matter. They are not the ones that are hooked onto names. And in the Jewish faith, if I get this right, if I remember correctly, they had an understanding thousands of years ago that they weren't even supposed to speak the name of God.
Yeah.
So that in itself is validation that the name doesn't matter. The name is what we need.
Right.
So when I talk about the masters, if the word master throws you, when I say it, put another word there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can call it jingly bobo. It really doesn't matter. It is whatever makes you comfortable. But I can't change my words up that much to make everybody comfortable, because then it doesn't sound like it's being consistent.
Yeah.
So I had to pick the most neutral word. And what I did was I polled my clients, and I polled my hospice patients and said, which one of these words insults you the least?
Yeah.
And it was almost unanimous, not quite, but almost unanimous, the word universe, because people, or the people I polled anyway, they were all able to take universe as that heavenly godly thing for them, however that looked, whatever their belief system was.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose that particular word, is because they all agreed pretty much that that was the least offensive, and it was not offensive to anybody I polled.
Yeah.
So that's how it got chosen for me.
Gotcha.
But it can be anything. But if I say the master specifically, it's usually because if I say universe, it's still coming from them. They're still telling me what to say. And they do not speak to me in English, so I'm translating.
Mm.
And it sounds like I'm just talking to you, but every word out of my mouth pretty much is, with the exception of maybe a thee or an and or that kind of thing, all the meat and potato words are their words coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So when I say masters, my clients know that means, ooh, this is one of those things that they have put a period and an exclamation point on. And it means that you don't have to believe it. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to do anything, but they are not negotiable on that particular subject or that particular
Right.
explanation or whatever it is. And when I say universe, it's same people, same group, same whatever you want to call them, but there's not a period exclamation point with an underline, this is it. There's a little bit of more free will in that.
Mm.
And that appeases our need to control for right now. And eventually we'll let go of that need to control.
Mm.
And what I can tell you is, the more you let go of the need to control something, the more things end up working in your favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am 100% proof of that. The more I relinquish and just say, okay, the more it's right there in front of me almost instantly.
Yeah.
So it really is my need to control the situation, to determine how the outcome is going to look,
Mm-hmm.
that is keeping whatever I'm wanting to happen.
So it sounds like, we're getting close to the hour, right? I want to just keep that in mind, but it sounds like what we've done in the past is we cut off our power from ourself.
Yes.
And now we're developing again, we're going back and connecting back to the power. Like when I hear people talk about aliens, it's being described as our future self. It's like our evolved self, but it's another part of us. Same thing with the higher self. It's like a higher dimension. I guess my point is, I don't know what my point is that we did this to ourselves.
Yes, we did.
We cut our power off, and now we're connecting back to our power. Yeah.
Yes.
Boy,
That
that
is an excellent way to describe it.
okay. We're stupid. We are stupid people. What is the brilliance of doing that? I guess we needed to relearn. Like we did a go around. I'm thinking we did a go around. Now we're going around again. I don't know. Are we all bored? Are we? I mean, I know I am bored, but
And I really wish I had an answer to that, and I don't. And I'm not going to try to pull a rabbit out of my hat.
yeah,
I still have not been able to understand. I'm sure somebody has an answer to that question. I
yeah,
just don't have an answer. I have not been able to understand. And sometimes I will ask them, let me stop a minute. Sometimes I will ask them something, and their answer to me is, that's just not your business.
yeah, yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that they won't tell me a year from now.
Right.
But right now, that's not what my focus is supposed to be on. And that is their way of guiding me
Mm-hmm.
out of my need to control. So I
Yeah.
really have become that person that if you were to know me well, you would go, well, she just doesn't care. And they don't mean I don't care about people. They mean she doesn't care how any of this works. She just knows it does. And
Yeah.
that part of the statement is true.
Yeah.
The the how,
Right. Right.
but that is because I, in my 60 plus years on this earth, um, my first true recollection of them talking to me, I
Mm-hmm.
was 3.
Mm-hmm.
That they've never told me anything, and it doesn't matter if it was the good, or the bad. It doesn't, in my perception. They've never shared anything with me that was not 100% true and accurate, exactly as they explained it to me.
Yeah.
So I have a faith in them
Mm-hmm.
that I've been told. I don't know how true this is for everybody, but I've been told, because of that and because of going where I've been twice, I have a faith in them that is difficult sometimes for other people to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, they call it a blind faith, or whatever. But it is simply, I just know it's 100% right, whatever it is they tell me.
Yeah.
And it's never not happened. It's never not come to fruition, and it's never not been exactly the way they described it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why when I get passionate about something, it's because I have forgotten that that takes a lot, and I've had a lot of time to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody who is just beginning their journey, that seems like a far-fetched idea, and I totally understand that.
Right. Right. And that's what most of us are learning to trust, know what that is and trust it and be led by it rather than our free will
Right, exactly.
that gets us into trouble.
A lot of trouble.
So, all right, I think this is a good place to pause for our first, I feel like we're gonna have many introductions, but our first introduction to what we're calling right now the user's guide to the fourth and fifth dimension for our best life. I don't know, something like that. And I think we're gonna do this monthly, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then for all of you listening for the first time with us, we're putting this into a book form and God knows what, and somehow it's all going to be beautiful, but we're just having fun and riding the wave, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
So, you know what we will do is I'll put our your contact information. No one needs, I'm the editor, but I'll put your contact information in if they want to get in touch with you. Maybe, you know what? Yeah, if there's something specific for you, but also if people want to give me questions so I can ask you questions, that would be fun.
Yes, that would
Yeah.
be fun. That would be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Um, so I just want to thank you and everyone else, because I'm honored that I am able to translate messages from that realm to people. And so I'm honored that I am a part of this journey with you. So thank you.
It's mutual.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And yes, I think it's no mystery that we're both enjoying it.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Exactly.